My name is Qiao. I have heard the lost treasure in the tradition since I was a child, what kind of family guarding for generations, and what natural wonders in forbidden areas. I heard my ears almost linger. But I have never heard it as a story. I want to find it and become the most awesome Tibetan hunter, so that the whole world can know my name. Tonight, the only winery in the town was filled with people, and the air was filled with wine and sweat. I was wearing a leather zipper and my hair was casually slim. I stood on a broken wooden table, holding a bottle of beer in my hand, and my face was full of unwilling roosters. Hear it. I'm a silly girl, I'm going to be the biggest treasure hunter. I shouted loudly, smashed the wine bottle on the table, and the sound was so crisp that the whole room calmed down. I will definitely find that lost treasure. Who dares to say I can't do it? Stand up. For a while, the air in the winery seemed to solidify, and then I burst into laughter, making my face almost burn. These guys, one with disdain for his face, was full of thorns in his mouth. Yeah, little girl's head film, a treasure hunter. Go home and take a shower and go to bed. The wilderness is not a place for you to play. A squid with a face full of beards patted on the table, and coughed with a smile. That's right, in the forbidden area, many old men have never come back. You? Stop teasing. Another guy who was as thin as a bamboo pole also followed him, and the wine glass in his hand was almost thrown out. I bit my teeth tightly and my fists were clenched. These people looked down on me not because I was incompetent, but because I was a woman. How can I swallow this breath? You Qiao, don't talk to them, let's go. Jingxuan snatched from the side, pulled my arm and wanted to pull me down. She was my deceased party from childhood to adulthood, with short hair and a camouflage coat. All of my eyes were worried. She knew that I was so angry that I could fight with others if I got angry. What are you going to go? Let me shut them up today. I shook her hand, swept the whole scene, and finally stopped at an old man sitting in the corner. His name is Wenba, and he is said to be the most famous old explorer in the town. He has a facial pattern and a sharp look that looks like a knife. He didn't laugh or say anything, just looked at me quietly, as if he was weighing something. Wenba Laozi, you are the forefather. To be fair, do I have the qualifications to be a treasurer? I stared at him, my voice full of picking. Wenba picked up the wine glass, took a sip, and then opened his mouth. His voice was as low as a source of news from the ground. Little girl, the wilderness is not a family, and the treasurer is not just a matter of saying it. What are your abilities and dare to say such a big talk? As soon as this happened, there was another laughter in the winery, which made my ears hurt. I sneered, jumped off the table, and strode to the corner of the winery wall. There is an old map hanging there, which is said to be left by a visitor a few decades ago. It is full of routes and marks from forbidden areas, but unfortunately no one can understand it. Since you think I'm not capable, I'll open your eyes today. I pointed to the map, my voice full of confidence. I can remember this picture with a glance, and I can tell you what secrets are hidden on it. Brave. Many people have studied that picture, but they can't even see a fart. Can you understand? Z's cheeks were bearded and his face was unbelievable, and he was still gnawing at the chicken legs in his mouth. You brag or not, you'll know if you look at it. I turned my head and stared at the map, and my eyes quickly swept through every line and every symbol. My brain has had a strange problem since I was a child. I never forget it. I just glance at it and it is like carved in my brain. This way, the details on the map seem to be alive, very clear. After about 10 seconds, I turned around and pointed to a small inconspicuous mark in the lower left corner of the map. Here is a three-headed bird pattern, right? There are 3 curved lines next to it, like a river, but it is not. This is a hidden number, which means there are 3 connected mountains near the entrance of the forbidden area. The land must be kept in from the back of the mountain in the middle to avoid the trap. The ducks in the whole field were soundless, and those guys who just smiled like fools were so thrust into a chicken egg. Wenba's eyes narrowed, and his face finally changed, with a few surprises. Also, here. I pointed to a vague circular mark in the map. This is not a lake, but a hidden sacrificial fortress. The symbol next to it is an ancient text, meaning Eye of the Guardian, which is probably related to the Guardian family for generations. If you don't believe it, you can check the old books, which must be recorded on it. At this time, the winery was blown up. Someone muttered in a low voice, "This girl is really a little bit like a door." The chicken legs with her cheeks and beards fell to the ground, and her face was as red as a monkey's butt. Wenba stood up and walked up to me with his eyes so complicated that it was hard to see through. "Little girl, your brain is not simple. But just being memorable is not enough, the wilderness will kill you. Then try to see the guy. I'm not afraid of death." I held my head up, and refused to retreat. Wenba stared at me for a while, and finally got a little bit of it. He didn't say anything more, just patted my shoulder and turned back to the corner. "You Qiao, you're so awesome. That helping person's face is green." Jing. The atmosphere in the winery was not completely cold yet, and Jingxuan pulled me to the side and said in a low voice, "You were really strong just now, but we have to take advantage of the heat to get the iron and prepare tightly. It will be out early tomorrow morning. The forbidden area is not a place to joke." I clicked the head, and my heart started to count. In the forbidden area, the hearing of the people makes their skin numb, and they say that most of the people who came in could not come back, and some cannibal tribes were there and killed them if they saw them. But I don't care. Bao is hiding and waiting for me. There are those who look down on me. I want them to regret it. Jingxuan, have your ancestors brought the map? Let's plan the route tonight and go straight to the road tomorrow. I softened my voice, my eyes full of excitement. Jingxuan patted her backpack and grinned, "Don't worry, the map is here. With me here, no matter how dangerous the wilderness is, we can pass by it." Jingxuan and I met each other, and a fire was ignited in both of us. Tibetans, forbidden areas, guarding families. These things that sound like fish in the sky and night will soon become reality. At this moment, I suddenly felt a chill, as if someone was staring at me behind my back. I turned around and saw a man in the corner of the winery, wearing a black coat, a long scar on his face, and his eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. He looked at me and smiled, making my heart bleed. "Jingxuan, have you seen that guy?" I asked in a low voice, my eyes not leaving the man. Jingxuan looked over my video and her face also darkened. "I don't know you, but I don't look like a good person. You Qiao, we have to be careful." I clicked the head and I had a bad feeling in my heart. That guy, I remembered his face and always thought this guy would be troublesome. Later I learned that his name is Guqi, a traitor who has guarded his family for generations, a man who is more dangerous than the wilderness. But I didn't think much about it, and turned around and said to Jingxuan, "Don't worry about him, let's go back to your residence, pack up the equipment, and leave tomorrow at dawn." Jingxuan whispered, and two people quickly walked away from the winery. The night wind blew on their faces, shaking, but my heart was as hot as if it was on fire. "Forbidden area, I'm here. Baozang, I'm here. Those who look down on me, wait and see." It was just dawn, and Jingxuan and I left the town with heavy equipment on our backs and officially embarked on the road to the forbidden area. The morning breeze is a bit cool, which makes people feel refreshed, but my heart feels like a stone is so heavy that it is too heavy. The man with a long scared face in the restaurant last night always looked in my brain, and I always felt that this was not that simple. You Qiao, don't always think about that guy. We have to be careful. The forbidden area is not something you can play with. The first thing I hear is the fog swamp, that place can swallow people alive. Jingxuan walked beside me, holding the old map of her family's ancestor in her hand. She looked around and looked at her eyebrows as if she was like a twisted flower. "What's the marsh?" "I've been through the mountain torrents, but I can still be blocked by a pile of mud." I was so nervous that I knew in my heart that the name of the forbidden area was not in vain. The squall is a squall, and it is not a good place to hear the name. It is said that there are poisonous things inside, and there are traps under the feet. If you go in, you will lose your shadow. After walking for most of the day, the sun was almost at its top, and a low-key belt finally appeared in front of me. Looking far away, it was white, as if it was covered by a large fog. There was a strange smell in the air, and the smell was a little sour in the fishy smell, which made people feel the sound. I stopped and looked around with my eyes narrowed, and I always felt a sense of evil spirits in this place. Jingxuan, what do you say on the map? This should be the slutty swamp, right? I turned to ask her, and my hand subconsciously touched the dagger on my waist. Jingxian looked down at the map, and her face was a little difficult to see. Well, it's okay, there's a swamp in front. A red spot on the map means extreme danger. She also wrote a few words: the poisonous air is stuck in the mud, please move forward carefully. Qiao, we have to be careful, this place is really fatal. What are you afraid of? You're here, how can you still fall back? I gritted my teeth, took out an old handkerchief to cover my mouth and nose, then turned out a long wooden stick from my backpack, and as a way to explore the tool, follow me, don't go, listen to me. Jingxian pointed his head and also learned how I covered my mouth and nose. Two people slowly stepped into the swampy land one after another. After walking for a few steps, the foot became soft and erect, as if stepping on cotton. But at every step, you can feel the mud sinking, so sticky that people can pull their feet freely. The smoke in the air is getting more and more dense, and the video is only 2 or 3 meters away at most, so you can't see anything clearly. Qiao, what's going on with this fog? Your eyes are almost gone. Jingxuan's voice came from behind, with a hint of panic. Don't speak loudly, save some energy. The smoke here is poisonous. If you absorb too much, you will be in the head. I replied in a low voice, staring at my feet, and the wooden stick in my hand kept poking the ground, trying to see if every step is safe. Sure enough, without walking for a few meters, the wooden stick penetrated into a mud pit with a pop. The bottom was covered with black water, and the stinking bubbles were emitting so much that it made people want to vomit. I can't step on this place. I turned my head to Jingxian, and then carefully changed direction. But this swamp is like a mist. No matter how you walk, it feels like you are turning around on the spot. The mist is getting heavier and heavier, and the head begins to rise, and the chest is as if it is pressed against a stone. Yuzhu, I can't hold back a little, my head is so cool. Jingxuan's voice became weaker and weaker. When I looked back, she saw that her face was pale and her feet began to shake, and she could fall down at any time. Stop! Don't fall down. I felt nervous in my heart, ran over to support her, and stuffed my handkerchief to her. Cover it tightly, don't suck too much smoke, we have to find a place to rest. But where is there any resting place here? There was mud and poisonous fog all around. I gritted my teeth and squeezed my head. My eyes were swept around. Suddenly I noticed that there seemed to be a black shadow in the fog that was far away, like a raised stone. I felt agitation in my heart and pulled Jingxian to the side. Follow me, there is something in front of me, maybe it's a way out. After finally getting closer, I saw clearly that it was not a stone, but a small piece of dry ground with a few short trees on it, and the surrounding mist was a little lighter than other. I relaxed my breath and helped Jingxian sit under the tree. The two of them were gasping for breath, and they finally came a little. Qiao, how do you know that you can rest here? This is so amazing. Jingxian leaned against the tree, and her face was still very bad, but she was a little more admired in her eyes. I'm just thinking. I grinned and wiped the sweat from my head. I've been living in the wild since I was a child and I'm particularly sensitive to the environment. I just saw the fog here, which shows that the air is well circulated, there is little poison, and it may be hard to get it underneath, so I took a try. Ah, your brain is really not a pity. Jingxian gave me a thumbs up, then took out a pot of water from her backpack and gave it to me. Drink some, we have to recover our strength, and the swamp is not over. I took a few sips from the water tank, but I couldn't relax. Although this place can catch its breath, I always feel that there is no match for it. I stood up and looked around, and suddenly I found a huge shadow in the smoke that was far away, hinting on the contract, like a large stone tablet, standing in the depths of the swamp. Yin Xian, look there. I pointed to that direction, with a little excitement in the sound. That seems to be something artificial, maybe it has something to do with the treasure. Jingxuan looked in the direction of my finger, and her eyes lit up. Yes, why is there such a thing in the swamp? Let's go and take a look. We packed up our things, covered our mouths and noses again, and approached the stone tablet carefully. This time I walked slower, and tried every step with a wooden stick, for fear of falling into the mud pit again. After finally getting closer, I realized that this stone tablet is really not simple, as it is 3 or 4 meters high, with an ancient symbol and pattern on the surface. Although it is a bit blurred by wind, it can still be seen that these symbols are somewhat similar to the map. Qiao, this isn't it just a thread of the hiding, right? Jingxuan's voice was trembling, her eyes staring at the stone tablet. Without saying anything, I squatted down and looked at the few symbols at the bottom of the stone tablet, flying in my brain and recalling the map I saw in the winery before. Suddenly, I was shocked and pointed to one of the symbols and said, "This is the Eye of the Guardian. It's exactly the same as the one on the map." Jingxian, this stone tablet must be a thread, saying that it may point to the first step of Baozong. What was written on it? Can you understand it? Jingxian came over and was full of curiosity. I snatched my eyebrows and carefully identified the symbols. The memory in my brain came to the scene again. These symbols are ancient words, which probably means walking through the mist, look for 3 birds, the guardian's test will guide you forward. 3 birds. Isn't this the mark on the map? It seems that we have to find 3 mountains, and the entrance is there. Great, Maggie, we found the first trace. Sure enough, as soon as the voice fell, I heard a rustling sound coming from behind, as if someone was approaching. I turned my head suddenly. Through the smoke, I saw a few black shadows, sneaking, with strange materials on my body, holding a long spear and a bow and arrow in my hand. Jingxuan, be careful, someone. I warned in a low voice, quickly pulled out the dagger from my waist, staring at the black shadows. What? Who? Jingxian was also panicked, and took out a knife from her backpack and leaned against me. Before we could react, the black shadows suddenly came out, with 7 or 8 people, their faces covered with red and black materials, their eyes were full of killing, and their mouths were strange roars. I realized at a glance that this is the cannibal tribe in the tradition, which is guarding the forbidden area and killing people when they see them. Run! Run to the depths of the swamp. I grabbed Jingxian and turned around and rushed to the foggy place. These partners have many people, and fighting head-on is definitely not possible. They can only use the terrain to throw them away. But it was too difficult to run on the storm, and the foot was covered with mud, so I had to breathe for a long time after running for a few steps. The roar behind me was getting closer and closer, and I could even hear the sound of the broken air from the bow and arrow, almost rubbing against my shoulders. Yuzhu, this doesn't work. We can't run past them. Jingxian was panting, her face covered in sweat. Don't panic, I have a way. I gritted my teeth and flew rapidly. Suddenly I remembered a large mud pit just past, full of black water, and it was very deep. I stopped suddenly and turned to Jingxian. I heard me, let's go back and lead them into that mud pit. What? Are you crazy? We can't even get to that place by ourselves. Jingxian widened her eyes, her face full of disbelief. Believe me, there's no time to silence. I pulled her, quickly dropped my head, and ran towards the mud pit just now. The cannibals behind us stopped seeing us, and thought we gave up and resisted, yelling even faster. When I arrived at the mud pit, I quickly squatted down, pretended to slide, and shouted, "Ah! I'm stuck in, help!" Jingxian was stunned for a moment, but soon responded and shouted, "Help!" fell into the mud. This shout was indeed useful. The cannibals thought we were really trapped in, and they were so excited that they shouted and rushed over faster. But they didn't notice that the mud under the feet became darker and more bubbles. Just now, jump, I said to Jingxuan in a low voice, then suddenly jumped to a small piece of hard ground next to the mud pit. Jingxuan also jumped over, and the two of them squatted down and hid in the mist and watched. When the first cannibal came, his feet stepped into the mud pit, and the whole person sank into a thump sound. The mud drooped directly to his waist, and he didn't feel static after being pricked for a few seconds. The few behind did not react, stepped in one after another, and shouted one after another, making people's head numb. "You Qiao, you are so cruel. This move is absolutely true," Jingxuan said in a short voice, and her eyes were full of admiration. But before I could reply, I heard a low voice coming from the fog, "Little girl, she has a brain, but unfortunately, you can't escape today." My heart sank. I looked up and saw a man walking out of the fog, with a long scar on his face, and his eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. It was the guy in the winery last night, the country. "Jingxuan, be careful, this guy is not a good guy." I held the fastened dagger, stood up, and slapped in front of Jingxuan. Guqi sneered, holding a knife in his hand, and walked over slowly. "You Qiao, right? I heard you, my brain is good, but unfortunately, I am too young. Baozong is mine, you must die here today. Want to kill us? Come and try it." I gritted my teeth, my eyes swept around, my brain was already in the middle of my body, and I thought how to remove myself. There are still several cannibals after the country's death. Although there are fewer people, this guy is obviously more difficult to deal with than those of those tribes. "Jingxuan, prepare to run, listen to my signal," I said softly, then suddenly lifted a stone on the ground and smashed it towards the country. "Please take the call." The stone hit his shoulder, and the country was in pain. He roared and rushed over with a knife. I took the opportunity to pull Jingxuan and ran towards the depths of the swamp. The fog became the best cover, and the roar of the country gradually became far away. After running for more than 10 minutes, Jingxuan and I finally left the pursuers, hid in a short tree, gasping for breath. Although it was safe at a time, I knew in my heart that this country would not let us go easily, and the road ahead would only be more dangerous. "Yuzhu, we have to leave the swamp and find the place where the 3 bird marks are marked, otherwise the country will definitely catch up." Jingxuan wiped her sweat, her voice was full of tightness. I clicked the head, looked at the stone tablet symbol recorded in my hand, and a fire ignited in my heart. The first trace of the treasure has been obtained. "Do you want to kill the country?" "No door. My mother, it's not easy to mess with." The fog of the swamp was almost dispersed. Jingxuan and I finally climbed out of the mud. The two of us were covered in mud, and the wolf was as beautiful as a soup chicken. Although I was defeated by the country and the cannibals, I was not at ease. The line on the stone tablet points to the 3 birds, which is the 3 mountains on the map. We have to find that place tightly, otherwise the country will definitely come and find trouble again. "You Qiao, the Thunder Island Valley in front of it should be marked on the map. I heard that there are thunderstorms all year round, which is particularly evil. We have to be careful." Jingxuan took the map passed down by her family's ancestors and looked around. Her face was covered with mud, but she still grinned and tried to relieve the atmosphere. "What's the point of thunderstorm? I'm very hard-earned. Even thunder can't kill me." I was so tough that I was worried. The name Thunder Island Valley is not a good place to hear. It is said that it is a natural barrier to the forbidden area. If you go in, you will lose your shadow. However, the stone tablet line is clear. After passing through this valley and finding 3 bird marks, I can get close to Baozong. I have no reason to retreat. After walking for most of the day, I heard a low sound of rushing birds far away, as if the sky was roaring, and there was a burnt smell in the air. When we climbed over a small hill, the scene in front of us shook us directly. Thunder Valley is just below, and on both sides are cliffs with high clouds. There is a narrow passage in the middle, with clouds densely covered on the top, and the flashes stumble like silver snakes. The thunder's sound made the ground tremble. The most remarkable thing is that there are several places deep in the Yi Valley. The thunder and lightning seem to be attracted by something, constantly slashing at the same point, sparkling 4 times, as bright as white, and they couldn't stop at all. My God, what's going on? How can thunderstorm play like this? Jingxuan's mouth widened, her eyes almost glared out, and she forgot to see the map in her hand. This is the never-ending thunderstorm in the story. It is said that it is caused by geomagnetic abnormalities. It is naturally strange and it is so cool. Although I was shocked, my brain has already started to count. In this kind of place, danger is really dangerous, but if used well, it may help us deal with the enemy. I patted Jingxuan on the shoulder and grinned, "Don't be stunned, go down and take a look, maybe the hidden rope is here." Jingxuan clicked the head, and the two walked down carefully. The wind in the island valley was particularly big, making people unable to stand firm. The thunder sounded one after another, making his ears buzzing. My eyes were swept around and I noticed that some places were charred by lightning on the cliffs on both sides of the valley, and some blurred symbols were engraved, which looked a bit like the one on the stone tablet. Unfortunately, I was too far away to see clearly. "You Qiao, look at that side." Jingxuan suddenly pulled me and pointed behind a large stone in the middle of the Dao Valley passage. "It seems that someone is there." I looked in the direction she pointed, and there was indeed a figure, wearing a broken cloak and hunched on my back, as if I was deliberately hiding something. My heart was tightened, my hands were already touching the dagger around my waist, and I said in a low voice, "Be careful, maybe it's a Chinese person, let's go and take a look." We lowered our bodies and slowly approached the big stone, our pace as light as cats. When I reached the back of the stone, I saw the man's face clearly and was stunned for a moment. It turned out to be Wenba. The old explorer in that winery was full of facial patterns and his eyes were still so sharp. He was holding a rough wooden stick in his hand, as if he was waiting for us here. "Wenba Laozi? Why are you here?" I stood my eyebrows, my voice full of rings. This old man suddenly appeared in the forbidden area, and he always felt that he was not simple. Wenbo raised his head, glanced at me, and a meaningful smile came out of the corner of his mouth. "Little girl, I didn't expect you to really dare to come to Thunder Island Valley, you're not a little bitch. Stop talking, what do you want to fuck? Are you helping us or slapping us?" I replied without any hesitation, and Jingxuan stood beside me, looking alert. Wenba was not angry, but just slammed his head and stood up slowly, his voice as low as a thunderous echo. "I am not here to slap you, but to remind you. Baozong is not as simple as you think. It has an inseparable relationship with the guardian family for generations. Every time you take a step forward, you will be closer to death." "What does the guard family have to do with Baozong?" I was shocked and my brain was flying. Wenba doesn't sound like a blind man, but why did he suddenly tell us this? Wenba looked at me with a complex look that made people unable to guess. The guardian family has kept the secrets of Baozong for generations. They are not protectors, but guardians. Baozong himself, with a curse, who is unlucky to touch. Do you think that finding Baozong can become a legend? If you are wrong, that's a road. Curse? Old man, are you a fool of me as a 3-year-old? I sneered. Although I felt a little angry in my heart, I never felt sorry for it. I have never believed in fate. My sacred belongs to me. Whoever holds me, I will step on whom. Jingxuan pulled my sleeve and said in a short voice, "You Qiao." After hearing him, "What is the danger of Wani really?" "We have some preparations." Wenba sighed and continued, "Believe it or not, but I have to tell you that the road ahead is more fierce than you think. The 3-headed bird mark is just around the corner of the Imperial Valley, but there is a trap to protect the family and the country's man. He has long been eyeing you. In Thunder Island Valley, thunderstorms are a natural barrier and the best place to rush. If you have no brains, you have to take advantage of your life." "Mainland?" I clenched my teeth and became very angry when I heard the name. I remember the cold eyes of the guy in mezuzah, and I did not let us go. Yes, the country is a traitor who guards the family and is so poor that Baozong said it was fate to come to him. He was carrying the cannibals and was already ambushing the other end of the ice valley, waiting for you to join the route network. Wenba pointed to the depths of the ice valley, with a few warnings in his eyes. My brain was flying quickly. Wenba didn't sound fake, but I didn't believe him completely. Who knows if this old man has his own little calculation? However, I have to be serious about the incident of the country. The terrain of Thunder Valley is indeed suitable for ambushing, so we have to start first. Old son, thank you for your reminder, but I still have to go. Domestic want to kill me? Then try it. I grinned at Wenba, then turned to Jingxuan. We have to change the way and go from the side, and don't go directly to the main passage to avoid ambushing. Jingxuan pointed at the head, and Wenba slammed it. Little girl, don't be too confident. Thunderstorms don't have long eyes, and the road on the side is even more dangerous. But, your temper is like me who was the same that year. After he said this, he didn't say more, turning around and leaning on a wooden stick, disappearing into the wind and sand of the valley. This old man is so nagging. Qiao, do you really believe in him? Jingxuan looked at Wenba's back and asked me in a small voice. I'm half believing, but we have to be careful about the affairs of the country. Let's change the road. I didn't say much, and turned to the left side of the valley with Jingxuan. A path that was so narrow that one person could only pass through. Although the thunderstorm was hit by the cliff, this road line was not easily discovered, and it was said that it could be unexpected. But this road is really not something that humans can walk on. The foot is covered with gravel, which is extremely slippery. The lightning on the top still slashes down from time to time, making people's legs soft. Jingxuan and I stood on the cliff and moved forward slowly. The burnt smell in the air became more and more heavy, and the thunder sound made our brains buzz. Qiao, there seems to be a sound in front of you. Jingxuan suddenly stopped and said in a low voice. Her face was not very right. I lifted my ears and heard them. Sure enough, there was some rustling silence in the voice, like a group of people talking in a low voice. My heart sank. I lay down, looked through the gap between the cliff, and saw that guy in China. He carried more than a dozen cannibals, hiding in a low-lying area beside the main passage, holding a weapon, obviously waiting for us. As a matter of ambush, Wenba has no choice but to do it. I gritted my teeth and said to Jingxuan in a low voice, there are many people like this, and it's not possible to fight hard. We have to find a way to use the terrain to make a vote. What should I do? This thunderstorm is as if we are desperate. We can't hold back. Jingxuan wiped her sweat, and her voice was full of worry. My eyes were swept around and suddenly I noticed that there were several large stones somewhere far away, just above the ambush point in China, and there was a cliff next to it that was charred by lightning, as if it could conduct electricity. My brain flashed and I thought about it. Jingxuan grinned and said, there is a way. Thunderstorm is our weapon. I heard me. We will lead them over and then use lightning to strike them. What? Use lightning to strike? Can this work? Jingxuan widened her eyes, her face full of disbelief. Believe me, you'll do it. Without much explanation, I took out a snail from my backpack, quickly slapped it on my waist, and pointed to the large stones. Go there, push the stone down, create silence, and lead them over. I'm ready here, and when they get closer, I'll lead the thunder over. Although Jingxuan was full of suspicion, she still clicked and quickly climbed to the side of the stone and pushed hard. Several large stones rumbled down, and the thunder sounded so loud that they could not stop. Sure enough, the Lima policeman from the country started to see him. He growled a few times and rushed towards him with several cannibals. Good. I hid behind the cliff, staring at them, holding a metal rod that had been flipped out of my backpack in my hand. This thing is something I have prepared for a long time and is specially used for special terrain. The Chinese airport brought people closer and closer. I looked at the time and suddenly inserted the metal rod into the charred cliff next to it, and then quickly stepped back and took a few steps. Sure enough, the next second, a large, steel, sound of flashing down, just hitting the metal rod. The current instantly spread along the cliff wall, sparking 4 times, and directly blowing a large piece of gravel. Ah! Several cannibals around the country were blown away and shouted loudly in the Kurashima Valley. All countries were hit by gravel on their shoulders, and their faces were twisted in pain. He roared angrily, "Who? Crack me out. I'm here." I jumped out, stood at a high place, and sneered, "China, do you want to kill me? Ask me first if you want to answer this thunder first." When Gucci saw me, his eyes were red. He was holding a knife and wanted to rush up, but the next thunder struck down again, and was still attracted by the metal rod and exploded directly in front of him, forcing him to retreat. I took the opportunity to push down a few more stones, smashing them to hide in Tibet, and their teams were completely in trouble. "Jingxuan, run! Let's retreat!" I shouted, turned around and pulled Sichuan and ran deep into the path. The country was suffocated by thunderstorms and gravel, and the pressure was unable to catch up with him. He could only hear him roaring from behind, "Yuzhu, I've killed you long ago." After running for a few hundred meters, Jingxian and I finally stopped. Both of us were panting, but we felt relieved. This trick was so beautiful. The country's helpers were at least halfway through. Don't want to come and find trouble again in a short time. "You Qiao, you are so awesome. You hit people with lightning, what do you think of this brain?" Jingxian patted my shoulder, smiling so hard that she couldn't close her mouth. "What brain is just that the energy is so good." I grinned, but before I finished speaking, I heard Jingxian suddenly hum and tilted her whole person to the side. I held her tightly and looked down. My face changed instantly. A short arrow was inserted into her calves, blood flowing, and the surroundings of the wound were still black, as if they were poisoned. "Jingxuan, what are you doing? Why didn't you say it just now?" I was so anxious that my voice changed. I helped her to sit on a stone head, and hurriedly flipped out the first aid kit from my backpack. I didn't pay attention. Maybe it was the one who helped people ejaculate in China. "It's okay, I can hold it." Jingxian gritted her teeth, her face as white as paper, and her head was covered in cold sweat. Boom! "This arrow is poisonous, don't be disturbed." I felt like I was cut by a knife. I used a dagger to cut the fabric near her wound, trying to squeeze out the poisonous blood, but the black part spread faster and could not stop at all. My brain is full of trouble. Jingxian is my best friend. She has been together since she was young. Now she is injured because she is with me to find Baozong. How can I not be in a hurry? "You Qiao, don't worry about me, you go first, find the 3 bird marks, don't let the country get ahead." Jingxuan's voice became weaker and weaker, and her eyes were almost closed. "Close your mouth. I can't let you go." I yelled, my eyes were red, but my heart became more and more panicked. This place is not connected to the village, nor is it behind the shop, and the thunderstorm is still striking. The injury is not handled tightly, and the consequences are unthinkable. I took a deep breath, forced myself to calm down, and my brain flew quickly. There are poisonous weeds in the marshland, and there may be plants that can detoxify in places like Thunder Island. I remember when I was a child, I was in the wild with you, and I learned something called Reagan grass, which was specialized in treating poison and liked to grow in places where lightning strikes. "Jingxuan, hold on, I'll go find medicine." I gritted my teeth, removed my coat and put it on her, then quickly stood up and swept around. Sure enough, under a cliff scorched by lightning, I saw several purple grasses, with scorched marks on the leaves, which were the legend grass. I ran over in 3 steps, pulled out a few plants, ran back tightly, chewed it and applied it to Jingxuan's wound, and then wrapped it tightly with a cloth strip. Jingxian was so painful that she was pumping, but her face was not so white, and the toxicity was slowing down. "You Qiao. Thank you, I'm fine. Jingxuan reluctantly smiled, but my heart was still as heavy as a stone. Don't say it, save some energy. We have to leave this ghost place tightly and find a safe place to rest. I held her, my eyes swept the direction of the Yegu. The other end of Thunder Island is the three-head bird mark, and the next line hidden is there. But Jingxuan was injured, and the country was still catching on from behind, and my heart was so thrust that it was so hard. Should I continue moving forward or find a place to hide first? Finally, I gritted my teeth and stood up with Jingxuan, and said in a low voice, Jingxuan, we can't stop. It's our life to hide. If the country's guy is ahead, we will be completely done. Let's carry you, let's go together. Jingxuan points the head, and the eyes are full of trust. I carried her on my back and walked hard toward the Yamagu. The thunder sound was still rushing around my ears, and the wind and sand made my face hurt, but a fire ignited in my heart. The curse of the country, guarding the family, and hiding. No matter what is ahead, I will step on it. I will give the country 100 times more money to pay for the injury. I walked out of the last section of the Thunder Island Valley with my back with my steps. The thunder sounded far away, but the sky above was still as dusty as if it was about to be pressed down. Jingxuan leaned on my back and breathed weakly. Although Reagan suddenly suppressed the toxicity, her condition was still very poor. She hummed softly from time to time, and she heard it as if it was scraped by a knife in my heart. Jingxuan, hold on, let's find a place to rest immediately. I gritted my teeth, and the sound was soft and relaxed, but my heart was as heavy as if it had been filled with a pen. As far as the sky can be seen, a piece of unobstructed yellow sand appeared on the horizon, and the heat waves were rolling, as if they could cook people. This is the Death Desert in the Forbidden Area, one of the most deadly areas. If you visit your home, you will lose your shadow. Qiao. I'm fine, don't be too tired. Let me down. Jingxuan's voice was as weak as a mosquito, and she wanted to push me, but she didn't feel any energy. Close your mouth. I'll carry you on your back, just stop talking. I growled, and didn't let her say more, so she adjusted her posture to make her leaner more secure. Although my mouth is hard, I am not much better. My legs are sore as if they are filled with cement. Sweat mixed with sand on my face, and my eyes are almost gone. But I can't stop. The Chinese guy may catch up at any time, and Jingxuan can't afford to be hurt. He must find a safe place. Through the last gravel land of the Sun Valley, I finally stepped onto the desert dunes under my feet. The heat waves came over the face, the sand burned like a burnt iron plate, and the air was so dry that my throat seemed to be icing. I tore off a piece of cloth, covered my mouth and nose, and squinted my eyes and looked around. The desert can't be seen at first sight, and the sand dunes are connected by sand dunes. Occasionally, there are several winding stones standing alone, like a tombstone of a dead person, with indescribable differences. The map says that if you pass through the Death Desert, you can reach the mountain with 3 bird marks. Feathered journey, we have to go on the road. Jingxuan leaned on my back, and the sound continued, obviously strongly. I know, don't worry, leave it to me. I bit my teeth tightly, took out the water from my backpack, fed her a few puffs, and then took a big puff myself. There is not much water anymore, and there is no water source in this desert at first sight, so we have to save some money. I looked around and chose a sand dune direction that looked relatively flat, and began to move forward step by step. The sun in the desert is so poisonous that it makes people's skin numb, and the strong light reflected by the sand makes the eyes hurt. Every time I take a step, my feet get stuck in the sand and I get rid of the boss. The silence on my back became heavier and heavier. My legs began to get tired, and sweat dripped into the sand and was steamed dry in an instant. But the most mortal thing is not the heat or the fatigue, but the unstoppable panic in my heart. Wan Jingxuan couldn't hold back, and Wan Guo caught up with him. Wan Guo was swallowing people alive as he was said. These thoughts were like a knife, shaved my nerves one after another. Qiao. Don't think too much, I won't drag you down. Jingxuan seemed to feel my feelings and said in a low voice, although she was weak, her language was full of determination. Who said you were dragging your back? I carried you because you are my best sister, so I miss you. I replied with gritted teeth, my eyes feeling a little hot. From childhood to adulthood, I carried everything myself and did everything myself, but Jingxuan was the only one who had been with me all the time. She can't be in trouble, she must not be able to. After walking for more than a day, the sun began to sink and the temperature in the desert dropped a little, but the wind became louder and the sand was blown to the sky, scraping on the face like a knife cutting. My eyes were almost gone, so I could only lower my head and feel like I was walking forward. Jingxuan's breathing became weaker and weaker, and my heart was as anxious as fire, but where was there a place to cover the wind? I could only hold on and continue to walk. Suddenly, I fell into my foot and almost fell a dog to bite the mud. When I looked down, I saw a piece of black thing exposed under the sand, like a piece of stone, but the shape was a bit strange, like it was carved by hand. I felt agitation in my heart and squatted down to slid the sand, and found that it turned out to be a small stone tablet with blurred symbols engraved on it, which was a bit like what I saw in Magua and Yuga before. My brain was flying quickly. Why did there be stone tablets here? Is it difficult to be a thread? Jingxuan, look at this thing, it seems to be left by the guardian family. I said softly, trying to identify the symbol on it. Although the wind is so powerful, the ability I never forget has been put on the stage again. I reluctantly recognize a few words, which means, the green eye, the source of life. Lingyan eye. What does it mean? Where is the green color in this desert? Jingxuan's voice was weak, and she raised her head and took a look. No matter what it means, it's not stronger than anything else, maybe it's a direction. I gritted my teeth, recorded the location of the stone tablet in my brain, and then continued to walk forward with Jingxuan on my back. The wind was getting bigger and bigger, and the visual line was almost zero, so I could only look straight and move in the direction suggested by the stone tablet symbol. I don't know how long I walked, but suddenly I felt the sand under my feet getting a little damp, and there was still a clear smell in the air. I was shocked in my heart, and I suddenly raised my head. Through the wind and sand, I saw a green color in front of me, like a small green island. Although it was not big, the trees were dense and the water was flashing, like a miracle in the desert. Jingxuan. Greenland. We are saved. My voice trembled, my legs were so excited that I stopped sore, so I accelerated my pace and slid over. Sure enough, when I got closer, this place was really a small green island. There was a small pool in the center, which was clear to see the bottom. There were low trees and grass beside it, and there were several large stones around it that could cover the wind and sand. I quickly put Jingxuan down, let her sit against the stone, then picked up the water and gave her to drink, and wiped her face with a cloth dipped in water. You Qiao. Why is there water here? It's so evil. Jingxuan took a few sips, and her face was almost a bit better, but her eyes were still full of doubts. No matter how it comes, it's enough to help you. I grinned, took a few saliva, and then began to check her wound. The effect of Reagan grass is still, and its toxicity has not continued to spread, but the wound is still very serious, so we must find a safe place to let her rest well. I looked around and found a small cave along the green island. Although it was not big, it was quite suitable for hiding the wind and sand. I helped Jingxuan into the cave, took some dry grass to let her lie down, and then started to organize and install the equipment. The water is full, and the food is still left with some dry food, which can last for 2 or 3 days. But I still have no idea. The guy in China may appear at any time. We have to regain our strength and find 3 bird marks, otherwise this desert will be a big trap. Just as I was thinking, I suddenly noticed a stone platform deep in the cave with an old cloth bag on it, as if someone had deliberately left it. I felt tight in my heart, and I slowly walked over with the dagger, and opened the cloth bag lightly. There was an ancient parchment roll inside, with yellow edges, but the characters and patterns were still clear. A simple map is drawn on the axle, marking the location of the Santu Bird Mountain, and some symbols and texts, like keys to explaining the meaning. What is this? The hidden thread? I murmured in a low voice, and my brain flew rapidly. There are also a few lines of small words on the axle, writing, there are those who keep in the cultural world, and those who have won the praises. I was stunned for a moment. Wenba. That old man. He was just talking in Thunder Valley, why did he still leave something here? Qiao, what's the matter? It's not right for you. Jingxuan leaned against the cave wall and asked reluctantly. The scroll left by Wenba has a map of 3 birds and mountain peaks, and some traps are cracked, which may be the last line of the tunnel. I lowered my voice and stared at the words on the scroll. The above is detailed. There are traps of guarding the family and special connections. Only by touching in a specific order can the entrance to the treasure be opened. Most importantly, the volume mentioned that it is hidden in the Guardian's Core, a secret realm hidden deep in the mountains. Awesome, Wenba is such a master, and he has this. Qiao, we have to study it carefully, don't let the country get ahead. After hearing this, Jingxuan's eyes lit up. Although she was still weak, her spirits were much better. I clicked the head and began to carefully study every detail on the volume, remembering the map and trap cracking methods in my brain. This thing is so important, maybe it is the key to our turntable. But before I finished reading it, I heard a rustling sound coming from outside the cave, like a footstep and a low roar, which made me feel tight. Jingxuan, don't make a sound, someone is coming. I quickly put away the roll, held the dagger, quietly moved to the entrance of the cave, and looked through the gap, and it turned out to be a country. He was carrying more than a dozen cannibals, holding weapons, his face covered in red and black materials, and his eyes were full of murderous spirits. They were moving around the Greenland, and they obviously discovered our traces. Qiao, those 2 girls are nearby. If you can't find the Zodiac, you have to kill them. Guichi's voice was as cold as a poisonous snake, and the knife in his hand flashed cold light under the sun. The cannibals beside him growled and began to scatter and search everywhere. My heart sank, holding the dagger tightly, and said to Jingxuan in a low voice, don't move, I'll lead them out. The scroll is here with you, remember the content on the map, I can't come back to you, so you can continue to find a treasure yourself. What? Qiao, you are crazy. How can I let you die alone? Speak. I'm very hardworking and can't die. I glared at her, and without much talk, I quickly slipped out of the hole and hid in a bush on the green island. I know that Jingxuan was injured and could not fight hard, so she could only win wisdom. And the trap knowledge on the scroll may help me to open the killing ring. I lifted a stone on the ground and threw it at the other end of the green island. The bang sound really attracted the attention of several cannibals. They yelled and I took the opportunity to wander to another side, hid behind a large rock, and began to recall the contents on the roll. As mentioned above, desert terrain can use quicksand and heat waves to create traps, especially near the green, where there are often soft cavities under the sand. As long as the enemy is induced to step on it, they can trap them. Come on, China, I'll give you a ride today. I sneered and began to set up around the Greenland. I found a piece of sand that looked flat but actually soft, dug a few pits with a dagger, then put thin sand on it and put it into normal ground. Then, I used a snail to cross a few pointed stones and hid them in the trees as simple trace traps. After setting everything up, I deliberately exposed my head and shouted in the direction of the country, my mother is here, I have the ability to catch me. After saying that, I quickly ran towards the sand trap, pretending to be panicked. Yuzhu! Stop me! When Guichi saw me, his eyes were red. He roared and rushed over with someone. I deliberately slowed down and led them to get closer to the trap step by step. Sure enough, the first cannibal stepped into the sand pit, and the whole person sank into a splash sound. The sand seemed to be alive, and it swallowed most of his body in an instant. After a few thrusts, it was no longer static. Be careful. This girl has a sense of sensation. Guitian roared, but one step late, and 2 cannibals stepped on the trap, and their voices were filled with voices. I took the trouble to the back of the tree, pulled the snail, and flew out, swooshing, with several pointed stones, directly hitting the brains of 2 cannibals, and blood was poured all over the floor. Domestic, aren't you going to kill me? Why don't you have such skills? I stood at a high place, sneered, and picked up, holding a dagger in my hand, and preparing for it at any time. The Chinese face was blue and roared with a knife, "Give it to me. Kill her." The remaining cannibals came over with red eyes, but the more anxious they became, the more inconvenient they stepped on the trap and the team broke up. I took advantage of the opportunity to penetrate the middle of them, and the dagger was as fast as a flash, and I took the key points. Although I am weak, my flexible skills and familiarity with the terrain forced them to retreat. "You Qiao, you are looking for death." The country finally couldn't help but lifted the knife and rushed over. The sword light flashed and slashed my shoulder. I hid from my side, deliberately slipped under my feet, and fell down in pretending to be able to take advantage of it. The country thought it was possible to take advantage of it, and the knife was even more powerful. But he didn't notice that the place where I fell was next to the last sand pit trap. I suddenly slammed, avoiding the knife, and hooked his legs with my feet. The center of gravity of the country was unstable, and I stepped into the sand pit, and half of my body fell into the instant. "Mia, thank you." I sneered, stood up quickly, lifted up a large stone on the ground, and slapped him hard on the shoulder. The country roared in pain and his knife fell off, but he still wanted to get up. I didn't give him a chance, so I squeezed a few more feet and kicked him deeper. The sand drowned his chest and couldn't even move. When the remaining cannibals saw that the country was gone, they had no ambition to fight, and ran away scattered and roared. I didn't chase after me, and stood up straight with panting, covered in blood and sand, and I felt that I had never been so happy. My mother, alone, beat up a team of people. This is the power of the feather. "You Qiao, are you okay?" Jingxuan's voice came from the entrance of the cave, weak but full of worry. I wiped the blood from my face, grinned, and turned back to the entrance of the cave. "It's okay, I'm fine. That guy in China can't get up in a short time. We have to take the opportunity to leave and find the Sandbird Mountain." Jingxuan points his head, and his eyes are full of admiration. I helped her out of the cave, looked at the desert outside the green, and a fire ignited in my heart. The last trace of the treasure has been obtained, and the country has been beaten up by me, and the trap of protecting the family is not defeated. Death Desert, I've passed it, and next is Baozong and Rongyao. I carried Jingxuan on my back, made a step, and walked towards the direction of the mark on the map. The heat waves in the desert are still there, but my heart is very fast. Domestic, you wait, I haven't counted the total with you yet. Baozong is mine, who should not try to snatch it. I carried Jingxuan and walked heavily through the last section of the Death Desert. The sun was about to set, the yellow sand was dyed into blood, and the three-headed bird mountain silhouettes finally appeared on the horizon. The 3 mountains formed a line, shaped like a 3-headed birch with wings spreading. The top of the mountain was covered by clouds, and it felt like a mystery that could not be described. The map mark on the scroll is clear, and the last entrance to the hiding is hidden in the core of the forbidden area deep in the mountain, the Star Temple. Jingxuan, it's here. 3 birds, we're the last step away from the Baozong. I was holding a little excited in my voice, and turned to look at Jingxuan on my back. Her face was still very bad. Although the wound was not vicious, the toxicity made her depressed, her eyes were half closed, and she was reluctant to get a little stronger. Yuzhu, I can hold back, don't worry about me, look for the entrance. Jingxuan's voice was as weak as a mosquito hum, but her temperament was still so stubborn. Stop talking, I'll never let you go if I don't let you go. I gritted my teeth and adjusted my posture to make her leaner. The heat waves in the desert are still there, but the mountain is near, and a fire is ignited in my heart, and my pace has accelerated a lot. Although the man in China was trapped in the quicksand of the Green Island by me, I always felt that he would not give up easily. We had to find the Temple of Stars before he caught up. As the first mountain climbed up the mountain, the road under the foot began to become rough, filled with gravel and thorns, and the air became damp and there was a strange smell, like the burnt smell after a thunderstorm mixed with the fragrance of plants. I pressed the route on the roll and walked through a narrow mountain with Jingxuan. The cliff walls on both sides were so high that they could not be seen. Occasionally, water droplets fell from above and hit the slab on the face. Yuzhu, there seems to be light in front of you, Jingxuan suddenly said in a low voice. Although she was weak, she was surprised in her language. I looked up and saw that, sure enough, the mountain master had a faint blue light, like starlight, or like the light reflected by water waves, with an unreal feeling. Star Temple, it must be that place. I was shocked in my heart, and I accelerated my pace and helped Jingxuan walk out of the mountain teacher. The scene in front of us instantly made us stunned and even forgot our breath. This is a huge valley surrounded by 3 mountains. An ancient temple stands in the center, like a ground floating. It is made of obsidian and blue jade. The surface is carved with complex symbols and star patterns. There is also a circle of huge stones floating on the top of the temple, as if they are held in the air by invisible force. Each stone radiates a dark blue light, forming a brilliant galaxy, turning slowly, as if it is alive. My God, what is this? The galaxy stone. How can it float in the air? Jingxuan widened her eyes. Although the injury had not healed, this scene still made her unable to speak. This is the most shocking natural wonder of the Forbidden Area. The guardian stone garrison of the Star Temple was said to be created by the ancients with some lost technology, and even science cannot explain it. I said in a low voice, staring at the stone garrison, and my brain was full of shock. This place is as beautiful as painting, but I just told me that this stone garden is absolutely not simple, and it may be the last line of defense at the entrance of the sacred. I held Jingxuan and approached the temple carefully. The ground under my feet was also filled with symbols, like some ancient method. Every step I took could feel a faint vibration, as if some power was flowing. The temple door is closed, with a relief of 3 birds engraved on it, and 3 huge blue gems are embedded in the position of the birds' eyes, emitting faint light, as if they were alive to pay attention to us. Qiao, the scroll said, the entrance to the sacred temple is deep in the temple. You have to break the trap before you can enter. Look at the symbols on the door, are there any traces? Jingxuan leaned on my shoulder and reminded in a low voice. I clicked on the head, put her on a flat stone and sat down, then walked to the door and looked at the symbols carefully. The ability that I never forget in my brain is put on the use side again. These symbols are somewhat similar to those recorded on the scroll, which means, the stars lead the way, the 3 eyes open, and the guardian core appears. I stared at my eyebrows and thought for a long time, and finally realized that these 3 stones should be connected and must be touched in a specific order before the door can be opened. Jingxuan, there are 3 gems on the door, which should be activated in the order of the stars. The Axel mentioned the star chart, I will try it. I said in a low voice, then raised my hand and touched the first gems. Sure enough, the gems lit up, and the ground of the temple began to shake slightly, as if it had touched something. I quickly recalled the star sequence on the scroll, then pressed the second one, and then the third one. Every time you press it, the vibration becomes stronger. The 3 bird relief statues on the door are alive, and a low bird sound is emitted. Then the door, rong, sounds open, revealing a dark passage leading to the depths of the temple. It's done. Qiao, you're so awesome. Jingxuan's eyes lit up. Although she was weak, she still gave me a thumbs up. Don't worry, there may be traps inside, we have to be careful. I grinned, helped Jingxuan up, and the 2 of them helped each other walk into the passage. It was so dark that my hands couldn't see my 5 fingers, but there were some luminous crystals embedded in the walls on both sides of the passage, which could barely illuminate the road. There is a smell of old in the air, as if it has been closed for hundreds of years. Every time I take a step, there is an empty echo in my feet, which makes people's skin numb. After walking about 10 meters, a huge circular hall appeared in the passage. There was a sacrificial fort in the center, and a huge blue crystal floating on it, emitting strong light, illuminating the entire hall as bright as white. There are several high-pitched stone pillars around the fortress, each of which is full of star symbols. The ceiling at the top seems to be transparent, and you can directly see the galaxy stone outside. The spiral light is projected through the ceiling, forming beams of light that gather in the center of the fortress. Qiao, this should be the Guardian Core, right? The hiding is here. Jingxuan's voice was trembling, her eyes staring at the blue crystal. Yes, the Guardian Core is the key to keep it, but to get it, you must pass the final test. I gritted my teeth and looked around and noticed a stone plate next to the fortress with 9 grooves engraved on it, like some kind of spelling machine. When I walked over, I saw a small line of characters in the center of the stone plate, writing, 9 stars beads, open the true chord. 9 stars pearl. What does it mean? Qiao, can you unlock it? Jingxuan leaned against the stone pillar, and her voice was full of anticipation. I'll try to see the guy, but I don't believe it, but I can't understand it. I sneered and my brain flew quickly. It is mentioned on the axle that the 9-star beads are an ancient astronomical method, and 9-star symbols must be arranged in a specific order before they can touch the generator. I squatted down, carefully studied the symbols on the stone plate, combined the star memory on the scroll, and thought about it, and finally sorted out the order. I took out a few small stones from my backpack, used as markers, and started to put them in the grooves in order. The first one, the second one. Every time one is placed, a light lit up in the stone plate, and the blue crystal in the center of the sacrificial shaking. When I put it to the 9th one, a low sound suddenly came out of the stone plate, and 9 beams of light shot out from the groove, gathering into a huge star map, projecting onto the ceiling of the building, perfectly overlapping with the galaxy stone outside. Then, the sound of the fort cracked, and the blue crystal rose slowly, revealing a hidden stone box below. The surface of the box was engraved with symbols, emitting ancient and powerful breath. Jingxuan, it's done. This is the entrance to the hiding. I was so excited that my voice changed, and I wanted to share this moment with Jingxuan. But at this moment, a cold smile came from the channel and made me feel tight. Qiao, I have to say, you are really capable, but unfortunately, it's mine. The sound of the country was like a poisonous snake, and I suddenly turned around. Sure enough, I saw him standing at the entrance of the passage, with long scars on his face, and his eyes were as cold as if he wanted to eat people. He was covered in sand and blood, and he obviously crawled out of the quicksand of the green. He was carrying 5 or 6 cannibals, one holding a weapon in his hand, killing the trench. Guosher? Why are you not dead yet? Your life is so strong. I gritted my teeth, quickly pulled out the dagger from my waist, and slapped it in front of Jingxuan and the stone box. Jingxuan stood up reluctantly, holding a knife in her hand. Although the injury had not healed, her eyes were full of struggle. Die? I'm not that easy to die. Baozong is mine, who shouldn't try to snatch it. Guoji sneered and slapped his hand. The cannibal Rima behind him rushed over, and his roar was shocked by the shaking of the hall. My heart sank. The space here is limited, and Jingxuan is injured again. It is definitely not possible to fight hard, and I must use my brain. Jingxuan, guard the stone box, don't let them get closer, I'll lead them out. I said softly, then suddenly rushed to the side, shouting deliberately, National government, if you have the ability to catch me, don't even want to touch me if you hide it. Looking for death. Guoji roared and rushed me directly with several cannibals. I quickly hid behind a stone pillar and my brain flew rapidly. There are many machines in this large hall, and the beam of the galaxy stone is still rotating, saying that it is possible to use the terrain to counteract. I noticed several small stone plates beside the stone pillar, like a secondary machine with the symbol, light trap, engraved on it, which should be able to control the direction of the light beam. I quickly squatted down, studied the symbols on the stone plate, and sang the memory I never forget, and quickly understood the operation method. I turned the stone plate, and sure enough, the beam of the rock in the top of the galaxy began to move and swept towards them in the country. The first beam hit a cannibal, and the guy was burned into coke, and he shouted at the sound of the hall, and the others were scared to hide. "You Qiao, what tricks are you playing like?" Guoji roared and slashed at me with a knife, but the beam of light swept over again, forcing him to retreat. I took the opportunity to surround the other stone pillar, continued to adjust the stone plate, directed the beam to their shape, and instantly fucked 2 cannibals, and the scene was in chaos. "How is the country? Is this trick okay?" I hid behind the stone pillar, sneered, and picked it up, and the dagger in my hand was ready to be right at any time. The Chinese face was blue and his eyes were almost blue, but there were fewer and fewer people around him, which seemed to be exhausted by me. "You Qiao, don't be too proud. Do you think you can hide all the time?" Guoqi gritted his teeth and suddenly turned around and shouted at the remaining people, "Go and grab that stone box, that's the treasure." I felt nervous and the Chinese people finally responded and started to go straight to their goal. I quickly rushed over and wanted to hold them down, but the government blocked me by himself. When the knife slapped my sword, the sword shaved so hard that my face hurt. I gritted my teeth and dodged, and the dagger stabbed his waist with his backhand, but he reacted quickly. The hilt of the knife hit me and knocked me back a few steps, and my arms were numb. "Jingxuan, be careful!" I shouted, and as a cannibal rushed towards Jingxuan, although she was holding the knife, the injury was too heavy and she could not react at all. At this moment, Jingxuan gritted her teeth and suddenly lifted a stone on the ground, smashing it hard on the brain, and knocking him down, but because of the excessive force, her wound cracked and gasped in pain. "You Qiao, I'm fine, do them!" Jingxuan roared, her eyes full of fire. I felt aroused in my heart and turned around and sneered at the country, "Your people are not good, you can't handle any injured people. Do you still want to snatch them? Close your mouth." Guoqi was so angry that his face was twisted. He lifted the knife and rushed over. His sword technique was fast and fierce, and he went straight to the vital point with every blow. I gritted my teeth and held it hard, evading from the left and right with my flexible hands, but the space in the main hall was limited, and it became more and more difficult to hide. There were a few more clean wounds on my body, and blood dripped down my arms. "You Qiao, you can't escape, Baozong is mine." Guoqi slashed the sky with a knife, grinning, his eyes full of greed. I gritted my teeth. My brain was flying at a speed, and my eyes suddenly glanced at the galaxy stone above my head. The beam was still spinning, but the speed slowed down, as if it was insufficient energy. I was moved in my heart and remembered that the scroll mentioned that the stone yard has a core connection, which can explode powerful energy in a short time, enough to trap the enemy. "Domestic, want to rob the treasure? Ask this temple first if you answer it." I sneered, suddenly rushed towards the main stone plate next to the fort, and quickly turned the symbol on it. Sure enough, a low sound came from the galaxy stone siege above, and all the stones lit up strong light at the same time. The beam instantly gathered into a huge light net, falling from the sky, directly covering the country and the remaining cannibal shells. "What is this? You Qiao, what did you do?" Guoqi roared angrily and tried to cut the light net with a knife, but when the knife hit the beam, it was burned. He screamed in pain and his hands were shaking. The light network became more and more tight, as if it was alive, trapping them so hard that they could not be moved. The cannibal was burned by the beam of light, and his voice was endless. "This is the ultimate trap of the galaxy stone cities, which will cure you such a barren guy." I gasped, stood beside the fort, and looked at the country coldly. He was getting weaker and weaker, his face was full of shock and unwillingness, but the internet alone gave him no chance at all. He slowly tightened until he could no longer move and was trapped in the middle of the stone. "Yuzhu, I won't let you go." The voice of the country became weaker and weaker, and my eyes were full of hatred, but I just felt happy. I walked along the way and was chased by this guy so many times. Jingxuan's injuries were also paid by him. Today, I will make him pay the price. The kingdom, the zodiac is mine, I am the queen of the wilderness. People like you can only be a prisoner here. I gritted my teeth and uttered this sentence, then turned around to Jingxuan's body, helped her up, and the two of them supported each other and stood in front of the stone box. Qiao, you are so awesome. This guy in China is finally over. Jingxian grinned. Although her face was still very bad, her eyes were full of admiration. It's not over yet. The entrance to the hiding is here, we have to open it. I took a deep breath, reached out to touch the stone box, and a ray of light suddenly appeared on the surface of the box, and then a click sound opened, and an ancient key appeared inside, which was blue, as if it was carved out of crystal, emitting strong energy waves. This is the key to guard the core, the last step to hide. I held the key tightly, and a fire ignited in my heart. The country is trapped, the trap is broken, and the hiding is right in front of me. My mother is just one step away from the legend. But I also know in my heart that once this key is opened, protecting the secrets of the family, and even the so-called curse may come. Jingxuan, are you ready? We are going to open the final door. I've been ready for a long time, Qiao, do it. Jingxian pointed his head, his eyes full of trust. I held the key, walked to the groove in the center of the sacrificial palace, took a deep breath, and prepared to insert it. The light of the galaxy stone is still flashing, and the air in the temple seems to have solidified, making people feel restless. But no matter what is ahead, I will not retreat. The name of the Queen of the Wilderness can only be mine. I held the blue crystal key, my palms were sweating slightly, and my heart beat as fast as a drumbeat. The groove in the center of the sacrificial fortification was radiating faint light, as if I had been waiting for thousands of years, just for this moment. Jingxian leaned against me. Although the injury had not healed, her eyes were full of expectations and trust. The light network in the galaxy stone square was still trapping the country. His roar was so weak that he could not hear clearly, and he finally became a waste. I took a deep breath and inserted the key into the groove. A click sound on my ears was crisp, as if some kind of seal was broken, and the entire star temple began to shake violently. Qiao, what's going on? Isn't this place collapsed, right? Jingxuan's voice was filled with panic and tightly grabbed my arm. I didn't answer, my eyes were fixed on the fort, and the symbols on the ground lit up, and the light spread out like water waves. Then, a gap broke in the center of the fortress, revealing a downward staircase, which was so deep that it was hard to see the bottom. An ancient and cold breath came out from the air, like a lowly verb from the center of the earth, which made people's head numb. Jingxuan, this is the secret room of the Tibetan sacred. Let's go down. I gritted my teeth and helped her stand up. The two of them supported each other and carefully stepped on the ladder. Every step down, the vibration becomes stronger, and the crystals on the wall emit light, which can barely illuminate the road under the feet. The two sides of the staircase are filled with ancient wall paintings, paintings of people wearing long robes, kneeling around a huge blue crystal, like some kind of ritual, and a picture shows them using this crystal drive machine to light up the city, and the scene looks like a science fiction movie. Qiao, these paintings don't look like a simple treasure. This crystal seems to be a high-tech thing. Jingxian said in a low voice. Although her breath was not stable, her language was full of shock. Yes, the volume said that the guardian core is not simple, it may be a certain energy source. We need to look at it with our eyes to know the truth. I pointed it, and I was also wondering in my heart. If Baozong is like the wall paintings, it is far beyond my imagination. This is not a simple gold and silver treasure, but something that can change the world. After walking about a few hundred levels of platform, the staircase finally reached the end. A huge underground secret room appeared in front of me. The space was as big as a dungeon, surrounded by high-pitched stone pillars, and the columns were embedded with glowing blue crystals, illuminating the entire secret room as bright as white. In the middle of the secret room, a huge crystal ball floated, with a straight line of 5 or 6 meters. It emitted blue light throughout the body, and it seemed like liquid was flowing inside. You could see countless light spots swimming, as if you were alive. There is a stone platform under the crystal ball, which is engraved with complex symbols, and is accompanied by several thick stone tubes, like some kind of energy transmission device. My God! Qiao, what is this? That's too awesome. Jingxuan widened her eyes, her mouth so loud that she could fit into a fist, and she forgot her pain. I didn't say anything, my brain was shocked. This thing is definitely not an ordinary treasure. I slowly approached the stone platform and found that there were blocks of stone slabs on it, engraved with dense ancient words. I have been put on the table again after I have never forgotten it. I quickly glanced at it and reluctantly translated the general meaning. This is the heart of the stars, the core of ancient civilization. It has no energy to hike the world and change the fate. The guardian family has been guarding it for generations, not because of wealth, but because of responsibility. I am afraid that it will fall into the hands of evil people and the world will be in chaos. Jingxuan, this is not a treasure. This is an energy core. It is said to be a machine left by a super civilization thousands of years ago. It can provide unlimited power and drive the entire world. I said in a low voice, and the sound was shaking. If this thing falls into the hands of the wrong person, the consequences will be unbelievable. No wonder the guardian family will hold on and pass on some curse, which may be to scare the outsiders. Then, what should I do? We finally found it, so we can't just let it go, right? Jingxuan browed, her eyes full of confusion. She said correctly, we almost spent our lives across swamps, valleys, and deserts all the way. Now the treasure is in front of us, it is not something that can be easily touched. My heart seemed to be torn by two forces, one was the desire for glory and wealth, and the other was the weighing of responsibility. Don't worry first, let me see if there are any other threads. I gritted my teeth, turned around the stone platform, and found that there were still several small lines of small words on the side of the stone platform, writing, "The heart of stars cannot be controlled by one person. The three hearts must be united in one to start. However, on the day of the start, the world may be reborn or destroyed, be careful." My brain was shocked, and the three hearts were united in one. What does it mean? Is it difficult to use this thing with certain conditions? At this moment, the secret room suddenly shook again, and a low bird was sent out from the crystal ball, as if something had been touched. Then, a light curtain appeared on the surface of the crystal ball, like a holographic projection, showing the image of an old man in a long robe, full of facial patterns, and his eyes were as deep as if he could see through everything. He said in a low voice, "Come, if you see this image, you have reached the heart of the stars through trial. I am the last elder of the family. This thing is the core of our family's protection for generations. It is not wealth, but responsibility. It can light up the world and destroy everything. If you think about it, leave quickly. If you are willing to take responsibility, you need to make a decision, hide the truth, protect peace, or make a secret, change your fate. Choose, Comer." After the video was said, the light of the crystal ball dimmed and the secret room fell into a dead silence. Jingxuan and I looked at each other, and both of us felt like we were pressing against the stones, so we couldn't breathe. This decision is too heavy. We can hide the truth. We can leave ourselves and return to the town with glory, becoming a legend. Making secrets public may cause trouble and even change the pattern of the entire world. Yuzhu, what do you think? This thing is too big. Can we bear it? Jingxuan asked in a low voice, her eyes full of hesitation. I bit my lip and my brain flew quickly. When I was a kid, you always told me that the treasurer of Baozhai is not for wealth, but to reveal the truth and make the world better. I walked along the way and was ridiculed and chased, almost killing me, but I never thought of being just for myself. What I want is to prove myself, to make those who look down on me shut up, and to become the real queen of the wilderness. If I choose to hide now and take a little wealth and go back, what's the difference with the kind of greedy guy in China? Jingxuan, I've decided that we won't hide this thing, nor will we take it away. I want to make the truth public so that the whole world can know the existence of the heart of stars. I raised my head, my eyes as if it were a knife, this thing is not something we can swallow, it belongs to everyone. If someone wants to do bad things with it, I will stand up first and kill them." Jingxuan was stunned for a moment, then grinned, her eyes full of admiration. "Yuzhu, I knew you would choose this. Okay, let's do it together, let the secrets of protecting the family be seen, and let the whole world know who the queen of the wilderness is." I clicked my head and felt like a big stone was removed from my heart. Although this decision may bring trouble, I am never afraid of trouble. I am still afraid of this when I pass the forbidden area and overturn the country. However, before it is open, we have to leave this place safely, and Jingxuan's injuries must be dealt with tightly. Jingxuan, let's first remember the details of this place, and then go back to the town to find someone to take over this matter. If you are not hurting, we can't delay it anymore, I said, taking out the paper from my backpack and remembering the structure of the secret room, the heart of the stars, the wall paintings and text. I never forget these things in my mind, but I still want to keep a book record so as not to leak. After remembering everything, I held Jingxuan and walked back slowly along the ladder. The tremor of the Star Temple had stopped. Guqi and his men were still trapped by Guangwang. They couldn't even move, and their eyes were full of hatred, but I could even look at him. The truth about Baozong is much more important than his life. Walking out of the temple, the galaxy stones on the top were still rotating, and the blue light reflected the three birds and mountains like a dream. I took a deep breath, held Jingxuan and started going down the mountain. The road back was much easier than when I came. Although the injury had not healed, I felt relaxed like never before. Baozong was found, the truth was revealed, and the next time, it was time for the whole world to know all this. A few days later, Jingxuan and I finally returned to the town. Jingxuan's injuries were found on the road to deal with some herbs. Although it was not completely cured, she could walk by herself. The town is still the same, the old streets, the noisy winery, and the people on the streets are still the same scattered. But when we walked into the restaurant, everyone calmed down and stared at us, as if we were seeing a ghost. Yuzi. Are you really back? Didn't you swallow you? The first mouth of the squid with a face full of beards, and the sound was full of disbelief, and I forgot to put the wine glass in my hand. Swallow? My life is very hard, what's the forbidden area? I sneered, walked to the center of the winery with my head raised, threw my backpack on the table, and the sound was so loud that the whole audience could hear it. I heard it well. I'm Qiao, not only came back from the forbidden area, but also found the lost treasure. However, it was not a gold and silver treasure, but an energy core that could change the world, called the Heart of the Stars. As soon as this happened, the whole scene exploded, some were surprised, some were suspicious, and more people came directly, asking non-stop. I was not in a hurry to explain it, so I turned my head and looked at Jingxuan. She took out the information we remembered from her backpack, and read it word by word. The Heart of the Stars, the civilization object from thousands of years ago, is hidden deep in the Star Temple. It has infinite energy and can drive the entire world. We didn't take it away, nor did we hide it, because this thing does not belong to anyone, it should belong to everyone. The air in the winery seemed to solidify, and everyone calmed down, their eyes were full of shock. The cheeks were bearded and slapped, and after a long time, he put on a sentence. Qiao, are you serious? Is this too exaggerated, right? Excuse me. I've been through the fog swamp, the thunder valley, the desert of death, and overturned the greedy guys in the country, just for the truth. I held my head high, my voice full of pride. I'm not for my own money, but for the whole world to know the secrets of the forbidden land, the wonders of the wilderness, and the heart of the stars. Who dares to say that women can't be the Tibetan hunter? Stand up, and let him close his mouth. As soon as this happened, a cheer came out in the winery. Some people slapped the table and some whistled. Even the thin bamboo pole that mocked me at the beginning was red, and he was low and dared not say a word. My heart was so happy that it was even more enjoyable than finding Baozong. Those who look down on me can only look up to me now, and I finally did it. In the next few days, the town seemed to have exploded, and the news was spread quickly. Not only locals, but also explorers, scholars, and even government people came. They heard the existence of the star heart, and they came to Jingxuan and me, asked this question, and formed a team to go to Santu Bird Mountain to find out. I handed all the information to them without any selfishness, because I knew that this thing was not something I could hold on my own, and openness was the best choice. And I, because of this incident, became a legend in the town. Not only people from the town, but also from other places, they started calling me Queen of the Wilderness, saying that I was a treasure hunter that was hard to see for a century, and broke everyone's prejudice against female explorers. No one in the winery dares to laugh at me again. Every time I see me, I have to shout, Queen, respectfully. That look of my legs made me laugh. You Qiao, you are a big celebrity now. Why are you still in this small broken winery? Don't you go out to become a bigger name? Jingxuan sat opposite me, holding a glass of juice in her hand. Her injuries were almost gone, and she talked about me with a smile. What's your name? I'm already the Queen of the Wilderness, what do you need to prove? I grinned, picked up the wine glass and touched her, but, Jingxuan, our adventure is not over. Although the heart of the stars has been opened, there are still many unsolved rumors in the world and many forbidden areas that no one dares to open. When you get hurt, we have to go on the road together and continue to be a legend. It must be. With me here, no matter how dangerous the wilderness is, we can pass by. Jingxuan's eyes lit up, she raised her cup and touched me hard, and the juice filled the table, and the two of them smiled like fools. As night falls, the winery in the town is still as hot as ever, but my heart is unprecedentedly calm. The moonlight outside the window came in, shining on Jingxuan and me, as if it was covering us with a layer of glory. I, from a ridiculed little girl, has come to this day and has become the queen of the wilderness that the world looks up to. It's worth it to lose your life along the way. The truth of the zodiac was revealed, the prejudice was broken, the crown of glory was crowned, and my story finally put a perfect sentence on the painting. But I know that this is not the end, but a new beginning. The wilderness is still there, the wonder is still there, and the adventures of the future are still waiting for me. The light of the heart of the stars illuminates my path and the whole world. And I, the queen of the wilderness, will always be the legend of not accepting the resignation, never regressing, and bringing my sisters to the world together.